Welcome back to another episode of the Astrology Magic podcast, where we talk about astrology in a way that helps you create magic in your life. Real quick, before we shimmy on in to talk about the astrology for the week, I have special ChatGPT prompts that I made specifically for you in a paid article down in the show notes below. All you have to do is become a paid subscriber, and then you'll get my list of ChatGPT prompts that are all specified to the astrology for each day this week. All you have to do is fill in your rising sign and you'll get a full detailed horoscope to help you navigate the astrology this week. It's so fun. It's crazy accurate, crazy helpful. It's how I navigate the astrology. So check that out and let's get into it. So this week is definitely a radical breakthrough week, an awakening week. One where radical awakening coincides with deep emotional processing and expanding your emotional maturity and emotional capacity so that you can come into your higher mind. So this coming week, Uranus finally moves out of Taurus into Gemini, and it kicks it off in the beginning of the week on Monday. So a little recap on Uranus. It is the planet of shocks and disruption. It tears down old society structures so that we can build up new structures. It is the planet that rules the higher mind, the higher self. It helps us see things from a higher perspective. It helps us be more future-oriented. It could be associated with a high spiritual principle of being able to be detached emotionally in order to just do what's right instead of people-pleasing or bypassing. So Uranus disrupts, it awakens so that we can return to authenticity. The last couple of weeks, Uranus has been at the 29th degree of Taurus, and that's been this final breakthrough in Taurus themes. A lot of people could be feeling by this point they've been simplifying their life. They've been really connecting to what they value and maybe even their value, and realizing that your presence is your value, that you are worthy just for your beingness, and that less is more. You might have been slowing down a lot the last couple weeks, connecting more to nature, getting more resourceful. Because when I think about Taurus, Taurus really is resourceful, especially when it comes to quality things. It will buy the more expensive thing, but only if it's worth it. It only will buy the expensive thing because it's going to last 20 years. It wants to build something that lasts. So we've been creating a lot of space for Uranus to move into Gemini beginning of this week. And Gemini rules the mind. Uranus rules the higher mind. Gemini rules the conscious mind. So Gemini also rules our hands, our lungs, commerce, how we market, how we sell, cars, transportation, communication, how we think, learn. It's certifications that you get. It's early childhood and like elementary school, so early childhood schools. So we just talked about what Uranus does. When it moves from Taurus into Gemini, we're going from simplifying our life, slowing down, connecting to what we value, to sudden breakthroughs in how we think and communicate. But what it's coming with this week is deep emotional processing, like I mentioned, and that is because when Uranus moves into Gemini on Monday, at the same time, Venus in Gemini is going to be trining Pluto in Aquarius. And right now, Pluto is ruled by Uranus. So whatever Uranus is doing, it's impacting this collective death and rebirth portal that we're in. And on Monday, this awakening you get could come through a relationship. It could come through you owning your self-worth. It could come through forgiveness. Because when we have a positive aspect to Pluto, or any aspects to Pluto, The way we heal Pluto trauma, Pluto wounds, is through forgiveness. But it's not the type of forgiveness where it's like, yeah, I forgive you, move on, but you still kind of resent the person and you never came to acceptance. True forgiveness happens when you go through the whole death process. So it could be you recognizing that an expectation you had in your life is not going to work out the way your ego wants it to. And that situation could be around a person, a money, anything. And so what we can do is we can get really angry about it. That's the second part of the grief process. Then there's bargaining. It's trying to figure out a way to still make this thing work, still make this expectation work, or still figure out a way through. Then we get sad when we realize this thing is really not going to work out. And then there's the acceptance. And that's when forgiveness comes in. Because we have to forgive ourselves for placing that expectation on anything outside of us. Forgiveness is always for yourself. Even if you're forgiving another person or a situation, it really has nothing to do with them. I mean, it does because they are a reflection of you. My point is it's all about you. And anytime we can't forgive a situation, it only harms us. And it's sad. We think that if we change things outside of us, we can finally feel good. We can finally feel safe. We can finally feel understood or not alone. But really, we're the only ones who can take ownership for that. And so there's this heavy-ish energy in the beginning of the week around taking ownership for your expectations, taking ownership for how you've communicated in a relationship, taking ownership for how you've been thinking about someone, taking ownership for your money and why you're at where you're at in the money arena, taking ownership for your self-worth. Maybe you've been trying so hard to make money in your business by trying everything, and you've gotten to this point of literally just pushing yourself to burnout because you've tried so many things. And you feel helpless and you feel frustrated. The ownership is you think that your worth and value is outside of you, and so you're trying to project it by doing more things when really all you have to do is own your self-worth and come more into being the person who has that money, feeling worthy, acting from worth. That's how these awakenings are going to come this week. It's not going to be comfortable. Uranus does not do things comfortably. And it does not do things that you think it's going to do. You think your breakthrough is going to be one thing, and it's going to be something you never would have thought of. That's just how it works. And also on Monday, the moon's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is linked to our belief systems and our past experiences and our faith and our optimism. And so there could be this growth and expansion around your own inner belief systems and own inner faith. And that only comes through the whole death process and you forgiving yourself and taking that responsibility. And then Tuesday is an interesting day because the moon is void of course pretty much all day. And in astrology, when the moon is void of course, it's not recommended to do big tasks. Basically, if you're dilly-dallying on Tuesday, wanting to get shit done, thinking about expanding your horizons and wanting to be more surrendered, it feels like a wash day. That's all I can say. One of those days when you want to make things happen and it's just a wash. But there's some healing to it because there's some surrender. And then on Wednesday, the moon will move into Capricorn. Yes, we are building to a full moon this week. We're going to have a full moon on Thursday the 10th. I'll record a whole video on that, so we're not going to go too deep into it with the astrology this week. But when the moon moves into Capricorn on Wednesday, it's going to square Saturn, it's going to square Neptune, and it's going to oppose Jupiter. So squares and oppositions are not harmonious aspects, okay? They are challenging aspects. And I don't love moon in Capricorn, not gonna lie. because especially when there's squares to Saturn and Neptune, we can just be feeling like our inner critic is on blast and feeling bad about ourselves. You know, this could be part of the grieving process where we're angry and we're trying to bargain and project and blame. It's really an energy where just don't compare yourself to people on Wednesday. If you find yourself being like, well, then I'm doing this and I'm doing that, take your power back. Best thing you can do. You could be feeling the weight of responsibility, the weight of like the practical things you have to do in your life. It could feel like you're feeling so much and you're wanting to push yourself forward to make stuff work, but then it's like, you know, those days when you're just kind of like in your head and you're trying to figure something out, but it just gets more and more frustrating and you're trying to force it. Wednesday can feel like that. There is a big opportunity on Wednesday for you to come into your emotional body, give yourself what you need, and step into devotion. So the difference between discipline and devotion, this is how I look at it, is discipline is when we would just force and try to figure out problems and force our way ahead. And I just keep doing this because it's a thing I do, even though it makes me miserable. Devotion is I'm going to do this thing that I don't like to do, but I'm so devoted to it that of course I'm going to do it. It's not going to feel anxiety provoking. It's not going to feel bad. It's an of course. I think about if you have a good relationship in your life and you love the shit out of your partner. This is how I feel about Ryan. I want to do things for him even if I don't have the space or time because I fucking love him. I'm devoted to him. It doesn't even matter. Like I'll do it for him, you know? Versus, you know, maybe I wouldn't do this thing for random Joe Schmo on the street. If random Joe Schmo on the street asked me to do this and I felt just like I had to be responsible to him and I was disciplined about it and I just did it, I could get angry. Maybe it's not in alignment. Maybe it's not coming from love. You know what I'm saying? So devotion is love that creates discipline. Discipline is heaviness and constriction and limitation that keeps you going. So that could be the opportunity for you on Wednesday, is to drop more into meeting your emotional needs and coming into what's really aligned with my heart that I can move forward with. And then on Thursday, when we have the full moon in Capricorn, the moon will trine Mars in Virgo, shifting how we go about asserting ourselves in our day-to-day, how we go about improving ourselves, judging ourselves. Maybe the breakthrough you have this week is you have judged yourself for so long. You judge and critique every little thing that you do. And because you do that, everything you create in your life is from this judgment and this critique. And there could just be this shedding of like, I don't have to do all these things that I absolutely hate doing, that I feel like I suck at, that I judge myself over, and I can just lean into love and what I really love. And I can redefine my relationship with my willpower in my day-to-day and stop editing myself so much, but come from my soul as opposed to always trying to like look for what's wrong in my head and then correct it, right? It's like a new way of action wanting to come forward. One that comes from love rather than judgment, criticism, and fear. And then on Friday, feels like a sensitive day, mainly because the moon is going to square Chiron in the beginning of the day. I can pull up more of that comparison, but it could also be related to healing wounds around comparison and like really having to face this raw feeling and remind yourself that I don't need to go ahead and reach my goals by making myself be someone else because I'm not good enough. There's this energy on Friday around how can I own my gifts and who I uniquely am and detach from what other people need from me? How can I really own my power and my uniqueness and realize that I don't need to change for anyone? I literally can just meet my needs, connect to my soul, and the more I feel at home in my life, the more I create a life that feels like home. So Friday feels like it could be like a little achy, a little intense emotionally, but there's this opportunity to surrender and feel more emotionally safe and secure through that surrender because the sun in Cancer will trine the North Node in Pisces. And the North Node is moving us towards the unknown. It's moving us towards surrender. Big theme of this week is recognizing that you can't control every step to the goal, that you can't control every turn of your life, that sometimes, often, our best life is created through our deep connection to our heart and our divine feminine energy and where that wants to flow. And that we can actually trust that. And then on Saturday, this is actually a pretty lovely day because the moon will trine Venus. I love moon trine Venus. If you have moon trine Venus in your birth chart, you're one lucky duck because I want moon trine Venus in my birth chart, okay? It's lovely. It's like having lovely connections with people. The moon's going to be in Aquarius that day, and this could just be an energy of having outside of the box conversations with people. It could be an energy of you meeting someone and they feel like home to you. They feel like they really align with your soul. I have hugged Ryan 5,000,000 times this past week because as I've been healing through some friendship things I've been going through, very Pluto and Aquarius, and coming to my own forgiveness around it and acceptance, I turned to Ryan and I have just said to him 1,000 times this week, I am so grateful for you. He is my moon trine Venus. He is the person in my life who showed me that someone who's in alignment with my deepest, most authentic soul does exist. And because of him, I don't think I'll ever feel alone again. I'm really grateful for him. That's available for everyone. And maybe you're listening to this and you have that person in your life, that person who has proven to you against every trauma you've ever had, they've made it through. And they've proven to you that they really accept every little ounce of you, even the dark parts. And they have the same morals and standards. That's what Saturday can feel like, is there is this opportunity to come into belonging by owning your authentic self-expression, allowing someone else to see you, like truly see you. Maybe for the first time, maybe you've been afraid to like let a deeper part of yourself out. And maybe that started to happen this week. You started to let like a deeper part of yourself out. And on Saturday, you realize that you're really not alone. There are people you can have conversations with. And that relationships can be really light and soul nourishing. Soul nourishing conversations are available on Saturday the 12th. And then on Sunday the 13th, Saturn is going to station retrograde in Aries. This is a big deal because Saturn has been direct in Aries since May 30th. We have been building our new sense of self, building new structures for society. And so when Saturn stations retrograde, it's like as we've been building up our new self with Saturn in Aries, the outside world has been involved. We've been seeing how do I relate to this person? How do I relate to this job I'm in? How do I relate to this system in my life? Does this system belong? And then we've been tightening up and creating boundaries around what's truly us. Now it's about that inward reflection and fine-tuning that and almost like comparing yourself to yourself. It's more introspective. There's definitely like introspective energy this week, as much as there's this higher mind activation. And Moon in Aquarius, sextile Chiron and Aries on Sunday, there's healing around our sense of self and belonging. And what's going to happen by the end of Sunday is the moon will move into very sensitive Pisces. So next Sunday is a very sensitive, watery, dreamy day. And when the moon moves into Pisces, it will immediately square Uranus in Gemini. It could feel like we want something to change, but we feel so confused and unsure on what needs to change. It reminds me of Moon in Aquarius with Chiron, how there's this healing opportunity around our sense of self and around belonging and feeling understood and friendships and all of that. With the moon in Pisces square Uranus in Gemini, this restless feeling you could feel could be around recognizing that you're the one who's been creating this feeling of being misunderstood in your life. That literally, yeah, you might have been misunderstood up until this point, but it's because you believed you were misunderstood. And so then you showed up and talked in ways that continued to make yourself misunderstood. So, lots of emotional things this week. There is a paid version of this astrology. And in the paid version, I have ChatGPT prompts that you can copy and paste into ChatGPT. Just fill in your rising sign for every day this week. And then you can get a specified astrology horoscope based on your chart. So you can get your own guidance this week. So I'll put the paid article in the show notes below, and I'll see you guys when I talk about the full moon this week.